Hello and welcome to part 2 of the development of industrial engineering as an exact science. In the last talk, we had stopped at where India had played a very important part in industrial revolution, which actually occurred in England. The part that is played by India and its riches was perhaps not obvious now, but if you look into history, it may be found the major development of industrial revolution in England was the development of a prime mover. Which was this prime mover? It was steam engines. And the development of steam engine, its invention and its further development was enhanced mainly by the influx of coal, cheap coal. As a matter of fact, coal at absolutely zero price. All that is required is you have to bring it out from India to Europe. It's only the transportation charges. So cheap was coal that running steam engines on coal was found to be an extremely easy operation. Until then, no prime movers were known which ran on anything other than water or air. Of course, the Dutch had long before invented the windmill, which utilized the power of the wind to convert it into the mechanical energy. So also water mills, water turbines of old, which were crude devices which were powered by flowing streams. There were three types of water wheels: undershot, overshot and middle shot. Undershot means the wheel rotated while it was just above a stream, or rather the stream was below the wheels so that it rotated the wheel. Overshot means there was a cascade of water, a small waterfall which fell onto the water wheel, thereby caused it to rotate. Middle shot, or it was rather a compromise between these two. The water fell into the middle of the big water wheel. So in effect what happened was that these three devices were the only devices, excepting the windmill, which could power mills. Mills were extremely important because mills were required to convert the grains into edible flour. To convert grain into flour required otherwise manual labor or labor by animals. Until then, mills were being operated by either slave labor or human labor or animal labor. But then the water mills and windmills came in, and making flour became a bit more easier. But then even these techniques of windmills and water mills, they were fraught with uncertainty, inasmuch that they had to depend on the vagaries of nature, on the vagaries of the climate. If the rain gave out, the stream stopped running. If the wind gave out, what happened? The windmill stopped running. So with the advent of steam engines, it was now possible to have a continuous energy production, continuous mechanical energy available almost for free. Remember, the coal is from India and it is free. With the result that spinning jenny and such other mechanisms were invented, which converted cotton into threads and later on into coarse cloth. and this machine made cloth was extremely coarse. But then again India came to the rescue. India and other places like Egypt, these places were under the yoke of the empire, and because of this they were, what shall you call it, they were a captive buyers. They were a captive market. They were a captive market in the sense that these foreign goods were imposed upon India, that you had to buy it. Do you know that earlier, much before the Industrial Revolution, Indian craftsmen of Lucknow and of Bombay and of Gujarat, there were wonderful craftsmen who used to weave very fine muslin cloth, very fine cotton cloth. It is said, it is written by historians, that muslin clothes were so fine, which were made in India, they were so fine that a yard of it, if you thread it, if you completely thread it, it will go through the hole of a needle, eye of a needle. Such fine cloth was made by Indians. And there were guilds all over India, in villages, where whole families were involved in making cloth. And the technique was handed over by father to son, generations passed, and the techniques were improved upon by empirical methods. And because of this, what happened was Indian cloth, cotton cloth became very famous. Now, nobody would buy cloth made in Europe just because it's made in machines, because it was very coarse. It was very tough cloth, very thick cloth. Nobody wanted it. So what was needed by the powers that be in England was that these expert cloth makers of India must be destroyed. They found a very simple method. The chief teacher of each guild in the villages of India were called before the authorities, and they were slapped with some sort of small petty some crime, small petty crime, something which they either did or did not do, and as a punishment they were required to cut off their thumb. Now, these techniques of making wonderful cloth was passed from father to son, from grandfather to grandchild, from generation to generation. It cannot be explained. It has to be shown practically. And without the thumb, the teacher was helpless. Within 2 or 3 generations, the entire technique of making this fine cloth was gone from India, and the Europeans were now free to bring their coarse cloth to India and sell it. That is one of the reasons, do you remember? This is one of the reasons why Gandhiji actually started weaving cloth. Do you remember the charka? Why? It was a symbolic restraint. It was a symbolic fight back. Because cloth was something which Europeans imposed upon us by such techniques. That is why he gave such importance to the khadi and khadar and charka and all those things. That was one of the reasons. Now, anyway, with Indian cotton and Egyptian cotton and Indian coal, Industrial Revolution was rife in Europe, especially in England. And as a result, huge techniques were discovered which will reduce the time required to produce to make a product by an order of magnitude. But that is another story. We shall talk about it later. Thank you very much.